I still remember that moment as if it were a scene from a movie. The air was cool and crisp as we walked across campus beneath the dim glow of streetlights. The sound of our footsteps echoed on the pavement. Easton had been quiet for a while, his hands shoved into his jacket pockets, and I could sense something was on his mind. "Alex," he said, his voice unsteady, breaking the silence. I glanced at him, unsure of what he was about to say. "Yeah," I replied, trying to keep my tone light. He hesitated for a moment, his voice wavering. "I think I have feelings for you. Real feelings." The words hit me like a sharp blow to the chest. My heart stopped, and for a moment, I couldn't move. I stood there, frozen, trying to process what I just heard. Easton's voice was so vulnerable, so unsure, that it caught me completely off guard. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to push him away, but another part felt something too. It wasn't immediate. It took time, more conversations, more vulnerability. Slowly, the anger faded, replaced by something I didn't fully understand. I forced out a laugh, desperate to mask the rising anxiety in my chest. "Wait, what?" I said, voice cracking. I know it sounds crazy," Easton said quickly, his face flushed in the pale light. His hands clenched tighter into his jacket, as if the cold might make the words easier to bear. "But I can't ignore it. I've tried to. I thought it was just guilt or confusion at first, but it's not. It's real, Alex." I didn't know what to say. My mind felt like it was in a million pieces. The betrayal, the fights, the nights spent lying awake wondering if I could ever trust him again. It all came rushing back to me. My heart was a storm of conflicting emotions. Anger, confusion, pain, and now, this. I looked away from him, unable to meet his gaze. The vulnerability in his voice, his admission, felt like too much. It felt like he had stripped himself bare, and I wasn't sure I could respond to that. "Easton," I started, trying to find the right words, but nothing came. My throat felt dry. "It's okay," he said quickly, as if sensing my hesitation. His words were rushed now, almost as if he were trying to stop himself from drowning in his own confession. "I didn't expect you to feel the same. I needed you to know." He turned his face forward, hands still shoved into his jacket pockets. The sound of our breathing filled the quiet space between us as we continued walking, but it felt different now, charged, uncertain. I couldn't shake his words, though. Real feelings. His words played in my head on a loop. I tried to push them away, but they lingered, gnawing at the edges of my mind. Over the next few days, things between us became strained. We didn't speak much, only sharing awkward conversations when we had to. Every time I saw Easton, my heart felt like it was betraying me. Confusion, anger, and something I couldn't name. He had opened a door I wasn't ready to walk through, and I wasn't sure if I could trust myself or him anymore. I tried to convince myself I felt nothing, that it had to be a fluke, that it was probably guilt or misplaced feelings on his part. But then I'd see his smile, and everything would unravel. His laughter would catch me off guard, like a wave crashing over me, and I'd feel that pull again. It was on a rainy evening when things came to a head. The air was damp and heavy, rain falling steadily as we made our way back to the dorms from a late study session. Easton had his hood up, shielding himself from the downpour. His voice came through the quiet sound of raindrops hitting the pavement. "Alex." I tried to ignore it, but my name in his voice, soft and unsure, made me stop. I turned toward him, my heart beating fast. "What?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "I can't keep pretending," he said, his words sharp now, filled with emotion. His shoulders were hunched, his voice strained. I can't pretend like nothing happened, or like I didn't just put my heart on the line. I didn't respond. My chest was tight. I know you're angry. I know you don't trust me, and maybe I don't deserve your trust. But I can't keep walking around this campus like this, not knowing where you stand, not knowing how you feel. I need answers, Alex. I could see his frustration, the way his words came so fast, how his body tensed, how the rain was soaking through his jacket. I could feel his pain, but it only heightened my own uncertainty. I took a shaky breath, trying to form a response, but my words failed me. Easton, I don't know, I admitted, my voice barely audible over the sound of the rain. I don't know how I feel, or if I can trust you again, or what this even means. The words hurt me as much as I knew they hurt him. His shoulders sank, and for a moment, the two of us stood in silence beneath the downpour. His head was down, his voice low as he whispered, I know. We didn't speak for what felt like hours, walking back to our dorms in a storm that felt fitting for the turbulence between us. But then, in the quiet of the next few days, we began to have conversations. Long ones. Conversations that dug into the pain, the betrayal, the uncertainty, and the feelings we hadn't wanted to acknowledge. Slowly, layer by layer, we started unraveling what was buried beneath the surface. Easton wasn't just fighting his feelings, he was fighting himself. And me? I was fighting fear. Fear of trust, fear of rejection, and fear of opening myself to this kind of vulnerability. One afternoon, we sat together in the dorm lounge, a familiar movie playing in the background, but neither of us watching it. Easton was staring at his hands, his voice so soft I could barely hear it. I care about you, Alex. I care about you so much it terrifies me. I looked at him, unsure of how to respond. He took a deep breath. I'm not trying to make this harder for you. I can't run from how I feel anymore. I hesitated, my fingers fidgeting with a coaster on the table in front of me. The air felt thick, the weight of emotions unbearable. Finally, I looked at him and said, I feel it too. His head snapped up, his eyes wide. I've tried to push it away, Easton, but I can't. I feel something. I don't know if it makes sense, but I feel it too. It was like something broke between us, the tension giving way to a quiet, fragile honesty. I could see it in his eyes, the relief, the understanding, the fear slowly lifting. And so, slowly, we admitted it. Words were fragile things, but they meant everything in moments like this. I think we should give this a chance, I whispered, unsure but willing to try. Easton smiled, his smile hesitant at first, then stronger, as though hope had finally started to take root. Yeah, he said, his voice steady. I think so too. And in that moment, we began to let ourselves believe that love, no matter how confusing, no matter how broken, could still find its way through.